am going to read the first chapter of my book to you, and you are going to be nice about it. Hi beautiful people, my name is Alora, and in today's video I will literally do what I just told you I will do. A book is never totally finished, and my book has not even seen an editor or like an agent. It has only been read by some of my friends and my girlfriend. My girlfriend is the only one who has read it in the entirety of it. All the friends only read like a few chapters here and there. I will only be reading to you the first chapter, and before that the prologue, because, well, it's very short, so why not? It is a fantasy novel, so if you don't like fantasy, then there is that, it's not for you. Bye, I guess. If you do, then you are in the right place, because this is a fantasy novel, high fantasy, so it is set in an entirely made-up world. It has lots of other species, magic, all type of stuff. The main character is not a YN girl. I have a male main character, boo-boo, I know. Sue me. Actually don't. The book is called The Circus Built on Ashes, and it is part 1 of a trilogy, a book trilogy that is called Black Phoenix. It's in English originally, and I have started writing it back in 2024. And of course, the thing I am reading out to you now, don't share it with others as if it was your own. Don't plagiarize and stuff like that. So I will read it as if it were an audiobook. I will be also putting some pictures. I am not planning on giving you a synopsis, mostly because I don't have one. The Circus Built on Ashes. In his old age, the phoenix closes his eyes and rests. It was hot, so unbearably hot. He was sweating like never before and knew that soon his flesh would melt off his bones like pork roasted over a fire. He felt like a coward, but knew that it was pointless trying to avoid his fate. He wanted this to happen. He planned for this. He left this word to the younger generation, to those who came after him, because there will be people who came after him, won't there? When he thought about it, he himself also came after the last generation. He knew he needed to put his trust in that sometime in the future there will come a person after him who can fix the things he could not, who can finally fix this world and everything else that is wrong with it. The temperature turned boiling. He knew he would meet his end this way, by fire. It was quite poetic, really. He could have chosen anything else, but no, it had to be fire. He had to believe in the future he couldn't save. Flames grazed his skin, his clothes ignited and fell apart in heaps of ashes. His skin started burning, yet he didn't scream. The flames licked his body, enveloped it in a warm hug, almost whispering in his ears. Do not worry. Even a phoenix needs to burn before it can be reborn. Who knew if he would get into heaven now? Will the fire wash his sins away or just surround him for endless eternity in hell? Will he get punished for giving up so easily, for not making a change? Or will he get praised for knowing his limits and trusting God? Nobody knew, not even he did. In fact, he couldn't even feel his own body anymore. It was cold and dark, black with ashes. Chapter 1. Let the show begin. Finn definitely didn't like this. Nope, not one bit. This was a very bad idea, and it was all Eva's fault. Because of course it was. He was the one with the stupid ideas, and in the end, it was always Finn who ended up going with them, even though he definitely did not approve. He was currently standing in a 300 feet long queue in front of a humongous red and yellow striped circus tent. He definitely felt underdressed in his usual dark blue hoodie and a golden pair of pants. His right hand was clutching the single ticket Eva was able to get from God knows where for him, because he thought it would help him relax. This was everything but relaxing. Around this many people, Finn got skittish at best and hid in a corner with a panic attack at worst. And that's without seeing the strange Aura witch through a smaller tent playing with some cards. The problem wasn't with her being an Aura witch. Finn had nothing against them. It was just... For a moment it looked like the woman was staring straight back at him, even though she was busy with another visitor already. He was being paranoid. This wouldn't be the first time. Even so, usually he was the one that made others paranoid with his freaky intuition. Whenever he looked at a person, Finn could always tell what species they belonged to, even if this wasn't visible on their person at all. Whether it was a vampire, werewolf, or an elf, or any of the 5 types of witches, he just knew. He had learned early on that it's mostly unwelcome to use this fact as a conversation starter, not that he started that many conversations whatsoever. The point was that he has made people paranoid before by accidentally mentioning their species, but only after they have started talking to each other. This sixth sense has also made him very careful not to judge people before he actually met them. Humans, vampires, witches or werewolves were all the same to him. Well, he found them all equally frightening. By the time he reached the front of the queue, he mostly talked himself down from his panic and forgot about the Aura Witch. There was a human girl at the entrance of the big tent, checking all the tickets and punching a hole through each to show that it was already used. Finn usually avoided eye contact, but he looked at the girl's face, and for a split second, their eyes locked. Well, his only eye, the left one. He has been living without his right for many years now. He felt cold all of a sudden. The girl's eyes were devoid of any emotion. They were empty and distant like 2 dark pits as she methodically punched a hole through his bright red ticket. With a deep breath, he broke eye contact and went inside the tent. His first impression was, holy shit, so loud. Too loud. There were at least 100 people in there, all seated at the rows of chairs situated around a big circular space, which was probably where the magic would happen. He took a seat near the exit at the very back. Finn didn't like the loud music the performance would unavoidably come with, so he wanted to protect his ears early on. Plus, the further behind, the higher he was sitting, so he could still see perfectly fine. At least as fine as his one eye and thick-framed glasses let him. "Excuse me, my friend, but this is my seat." A weird voice sounded from somewhere near Finn. He almost jumped, but stopped himself at the last minute. He looked around frantically to spot the owner of said voice, but he couldn't see anyone besides his seat, neighbors, and the ever-growing mass of people in the tent. "Down here, kiddo!" The voice sounded again, and Finn looked down, and oh, there it was. Or more like, he? Hello, sir? Ever the conversationalist. But who could blame him when there was not a person standing before him, but a somewhat overgrown voodoo doll? He had buttons for eyes sewed on dreadlocks made out of cloth, and 2 cat ears on the top of his head. Seeing him made Finn run a hand through his coily black hair subconsciously, as if to make sure he hadn't just grown a second pair of ears himself. He was a real, authentic, living, breathing voodoo doll. Oh, and he wanted Finn's seat. "So are you gonna leave or what?" he asked impatiently, and honestly, Finn was already so out of his comfort zone just by being there, he simply stood up, muttered an apology, and started looking for another seat. He knew he acted without self-respect. He knew he was a big fat coward, but he knew it from experience that every time he tried to fight back or stand up for himself, he would get the short end of the stick. It was just simply not worth it. He snapped out of his thoughts at the slowly dimming lights, realizing the show was almost set to start, and more or less all the people from in front of the circus tent were inside and took their places. After wandering for a good minute at the back, Finn realized he would not find any more seats there. Did he really have to go to the front? He tried to control the moderate shaking of his hands as he walked to the front, and yes, there was exactly 1 empty seat in the second row. It's like it had his name written on it. He quickly sat down because there was one thing worse than sitting in the front rows, being the only one left to stand when the performance started. And just as his nerves started calming back down, the show started. The candles around the spectators were blown out and big oily lamps lit up the podium. There was one person standing there, spreading his arms with a staff in one hand. Grandiose music started playing and the spectators applauded loudly. Finn forgot how to breathe. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you to the annual Kian Lotter Circus performance in Atterdon, the ringleader announced with great flair. Thanks to his second row seat, Finn could clearly recognize his two-toned skin, and like so many other times before, he knew. This person was a hybrid of an elf and dark elf. Well, if the circus was a place where you can experience the impossible, the ringleader definitely fit right in. My name is Physius and I am your host today, my fine good ladies and sirs and everything in between. I welcome you to the famous Kian Circus. Finn winced at the thunderous applause and at the hybrid person screaming into the voice amplifier. The music was still bearable somehow. I can't believe I get to see the Theseus in real life, a lady screamed in the common tongue, a few seats away from him. Finn couldn't help but also get a little bit excited. If the rumors were true about the Kian Circus, this performance will be the best one of his life. Firstly, let me introduce to you our brilliant aerialist and acrobat, a body made for swimming but a heart that yearns for the skies. Ladies and gentlemen, a big applause for Ukio, the child of the icy deep. And with that, let the show begin. A mermaid flew in, using the trapeze that hung from a sturdy metal structure. 4 golden horses, led by a centaur, pulled a big pole on wheels under Zin, while Z performed flips in an elegant dance in the sky. The music got louder and this time, someone started singing with it. Finn couldn't tear his eyes away from the mermaid in the air long enough to find the band playing. The performance ended with Zim free-falling, dropping in the pool with an elegant flip, as the horses pulled it out of the scene. Now Finn could begin searching for the circus musicians, who were sitting beside the podium just high enough so they could be seen, but low enough so they wouldn't direct all the attention to themselves. Finn could make out a trumpet, a violin, and the drums. They also had a singer who had the most angelic voice Finn has ever heard. Maybe this wasn't such a bad idea after all. He will have to thank Eva, won't he? The show was breathtaking. There were 2 contortionists and acrobats who performed a duet mid-air, a horse show with various tricks led by the centaur, a fire eater, multiple tricks with tigers, lions, and a black panther. The overgrown cats were led by a small person who looked almost like the voodoo doll that took Finn's place, but he was too small and too far away to really make out the details. The audience cheered at every trick, and at times of suspense it seemed the whole tent was holding their breath. Then came a short mime performance, which was very different from the usual. After the mime started showing the invisible objects one would usually work with, like doors and boxes, they appeared on the stage for real. At first, Finn thought it was a magician's performance, except that she didn't speak and was dressed like a stereotypical mime. He found it a bit confusing, but still enjoyed the show. After that came an exclusive escape artist performance by an avian, whose wings were tied together, the girl hanging upside down in a smaller aquarium, hands and feet bound. The performance was risky and it brought Finn to the edge of his seat. Then came a small interlude with a clown on a unicycle. At that point, Finn felt like he was on the top of the world and didn't even mind that he'd have to put away his pride and thank Eva. And then came the magician. Even Finn hadn't understood it at first because he looked very normal. He was a man in an elegant suit, bow tie, and a magician's hat, but there was something unsubstantial about him. He was some sort of spirit, he had to be, but Finn couldn't put his finger on what kind. He had an assistant, a small vampire girl with blonde hair, and an enthusiastic expression. She brought all sorts of items to the podium with unnatural strength. A table, a closet, cards, all kinds of knickknacks. The magician itself did not participate in this, opting instead to stand beside the ringleader, who was busy talking to the audience. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you Charlie, our magician. The ringleader, was his name Theseus? Finn already forgot, announced, winking with a wide grin. Behind him, the vampire girl finished arranging the tools the magician will need. Let's start with a simple one, shall we? Charlie pulled out 3 cards from his pockets and then showed the audience how it was now empty. He then proceeded to make the cards vanish or appear. At one point he had a total of 8 cards in his hands. Finn almost forgot about the magician's weird state of matter, which he got reminded of every time his body slightly glitched, like a bad projection. For the next one, I'm going to need a volunteer, Charlie announced, gesturing to the audience. Do not worry, it's nothing dangerous. Despite the reassurance, nobody moved. Are there any willing brave contestants? Theseus asked with yet another smirk. Finn heard someone sigh dreamily. And then the absolute worst happened. Theseus started skimming the audience for a not-so-volunteer. Finn tried to duck his head behind the person sitting in front of him but didn't succeed, and his movement immediately alerted the ringleader. His grin widened. How about the stunning young man in the second row? Yeah, you with the glasses and the curly hair, he added, seeing Finn's hesitation. Finn started to frantically shake his head, but Theseus just nodded at his unwillingness. Great. Just great. At least he wouldn't have to thank Igor anymore. The small mercies of life. Finn stood on slightly shaky legs as he walked out of his row and on the podium. He felt sweat collecting in the palm of his fisted hands and on his back. It was really warm. His heart was beating quickly and anxiously. Theseus greeted him with a warm smile. Well, hello there, looks like you're the bravest of them all, aren't you? What is your name, good sir? He asked playfully. Finn felt really out of his comfort zone, but it somehow helped that he couldn't really see the audience in the darkness in front of him. Finn, he answered with a slightly trembling voice, feeling the need to slap himself immediately afterwards. His voice sounded high and unsure, like that of a small child. Charming, just like your big blue eye. Theseus handled the situation like a pro and directed the attention to himself. Finn was somewhat thankful for it. Don't worry, Finn, it will be nothing major, Charlie reassured him, stepping closer and motioning to the dark oak closet further away. Now that he saw him from closer, he looked like a really strong ghost. I am just going to magic you away for a short moment, if you happen to be so kind as to step in the closet. Ghosts are not supposed to be talking in a frequency where they can be heard by humans. Neither should they be able to magic someone away, except if it really was just a trick of the eye. Finn was very confused and scared out of his mind. Was it going to be a simple trick or the real thing? He couldn't have known for sure before experiencing it himself. It's not like he could run away with this many people watching. So he stepped into the closet. The blonde vampire girl gently shut the doors, but not before playfully winking at him and whispering, Don't worry, Charlie's the best at what he does. The last thing he saw were her blood-red-colored eyes and sharp fangs, then the darkness swallowed him. The noise of the audience was less overwhelming, with the closet blocking most of it. Finn felt his heartbeat slowing down just a bit, but at the same time he got anxious about the shadows around him. He suddenly remembered why he was there to begin with. Charlie's muted voice filtered through the doors, not making any sense to Finn. Next he heard the audience's shocked reaction to something. This could have been the moment the vampire lady opened the empty closet, but he hadn't felt anything out of the ordinary. He was still in total darkness. After what felt like a good 5 minutes, the assistant let him out, further shocking the spectators. Finn felt dizzy and disoriented by the sudden lights and cacophony of noises. Thank you very much, young man, Theseus said with his booming voice, steering him to the edge of the podium. I suppose this was you literally coming out of the closet, wasn't it? He added with a wink. Finn was a stuttering mess and tripped on the end of the small stairs, almost falling. He managed to find his footing just in time to avoid ending ass up in front of 600 people. He didn't feel like going back to his seat in the second row after that. He didn't know how, but somehow his jelly legs managed to take him behind the last row of seats. Leaning against the side of the tent, he tried to make himself as invisible as possible. This was a bad idea, after all. He should have never sat in the front. He embarrassed himself and he was going to get the wigging of his life when he gets home. He just needed to make it clear that he's never going to go with any of his best friend's stupid ideas ever again. Despite his nervously beating heart and sweaty palms, the show went on. Finn already missed the next act by some knife thrower, and now the centaur did some archery. After a small performance by a belly dancer, it was clear that the show was coming to an end. Finn took a deep breath. He didn't feel his previous panic resurface. Surprisingly, he had a lot of fun during the show, so maybe, just maybe, it was not a bad thing he came. Still, he needed to get back soon, so he would still have time to visit Soraya and Nyla. He promised them, and he wasn't about to break it. That was his last thought before something blunt connected with the back of his head and his vision went black. That was it. Thank you so much for listening. Holy shit, how long was that? Okay, never mind. So thank you so much for listening to the prologue and the first chapter of my book. Tell me if you enjoyed it. Tell me what you didn't like. Most of the stuff that you don't understand or find weird in this chapter will get cleared up during the whole book. So it's really just like the first sneak peek. And yeah, please be nice in the comments because I'm a bit sensitive and This book is like my child. Also, let me know if you want to have a bit more, or if you want to listen to a bit more, or what you found good, what you didn't find so great, in a nice manner, please. If you like this video, you can also give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I usually do lifestyle and vlog content with a few creative projects sprinkled in between. I kind of do whatever interests me. Keep shining, people. Don't forget to enjoy the little things in life, like how the room got darker as I went on and on, matching the vibe of the circus. It was Alora speaking. See you all next week. Bye!